There's no question. Everybody will be complaining about it. There's few things that are going to annoy you. The brotherly shove, and every time they show Nick Sirianni on the sidelines.
He's got a punchable face.
He does. In Philly, they love him. Everywhere else, they don't.
Punchable face.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalano, along with Dan Fates. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This is my version.
Hey, it's growing,
of the
everybody.
hoodie and sport coat.
It's growing.
I guess it's sort of a coat. It's not a sport
Like,
coat.
comment, subscribe.
Yes, exactly. We are here in Philly, where if you've never been down here, and I grew up around here in the area, it's the sports area. The link is behind us. Philly Citizens Bank Park is right there. And then Wells Fargo Center is there where the Sixers and the Flyers play. So when you're in South Philly, you're near all the pro teams.
Yeah, it's cool. Cool vibe all around. I'm excited. My first time here in Philly.
Yeah, it should be an interesting game. Look, the Eagles are 9-1, but they've got the Cowboys chasing them. They've got the Niners chasing them. They're two teams they face over the next few weeks. The Bills in a different spot, Dan. They're 6-5.
Yeah.
They're still in it.
Yep.
They've got their chances. But they got to play a really good game on Sunday.
Yeah, it starts as we've joked around, but I think for the last few weeks we've talked about all of these games being must-wins. Now, it seems unrealistic to think that the Bills can get all wins at Philly, at Kansas City, and then hosting the Cowboys. But it starts here. And again, you talk about the grueling schedule that the Philly is, who's chasing them. They have a tough schedule coming up because then next week it is
San Francisco,
and then the Cowboys. So
yeah.
they have big games also going on around them. You don't want to say look-ahead spot for the Eagles, but if there ever was a spot, this could be against a non-conference opponent.
And coming off a big win for them on Monday night when they went to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. But
they didn't look great doing it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things. We talked about it before as we were heading home from the Bills win against the Jets. Just the fact of, man, it'd be nice to get the Eagles coming off a win. Maybe they're so emotionally invested into the Super Bowl rematch that maybe they take their foot off the gas or kind of look ahead at what it is. I don't think you're going to see that just because the Eagles played pretty poorly. You said it was one of their worst halves of football that they played on Monday night. I think that they are refocused against, again, another big opponent.
yeah, they find ways to win. That's what the team does. So we're going to look at 5 players to focus on. And some of these are kind of obvious, but for different reasons. Let's start with the quarterback. Josh Allen, coming off a good game, looking more like Josh Allen. He's going to have to play really well in this one.
Yeah, and I think it's one of these games where Josh is going to need to just be Josh. Josh is going to need to be special. That doesn't mean crazy. I know when people are saying, let Josh Allen do Josh Allen things, you're the one that says, that's stupid. You can't just let him do whatever he wants because he needs restraint. But this is a game where I think you need to go out and score 30 points. I think that this is a game where your defense is hampered a little bit, okay? You already have all the injuries. You're also going to be without Taylor Rapp, and you're also going to be without Dane Jackson. This is a game where Josh needs to flex his muscle. And again, against another quarterback, which we can talk to in a second, but this is a guy that he gets compared to. And right now, they're not on the same level as what they've accomplished in their career.
No, I mean, Hurts has made it to a Super Bowl and is playing at a pretty steady pace. I will say this Eagles defense has had moments when they're really good and moments where they can be had, especially in the back 6 or 7, depending on what type of defense they're playing.
I think Josh is going to need to get the ball out quickly. We saw the kind of pressure that I think the Kansas City Chiefs have a much better offensive line than the Buffalo Bills, and Patrick Mahomes was running for his life a lot of it.
Yeah, made good decisions, but they couldn't throw the ball as effectively.
Yeah.
Okay, if he's going to play well, he's going to need Stephon Diggs. Now, he found a way to get it done last week. Last 2 games, not a lot from Diggs. I think it's priority number 1 with this offense. Get him involved early.
Yeah, and you heard Joe Brady complimenting Gabe Davis. You also heard him complimenting Stephon Diggs because they didn't have massive stat games, but Sean McDermott said stats can lie, and you had Joe Brady saying how much Gabe Davis was the star of the show and how Stephon Diggs was great job running decoy routes.
Oh, all that is fine.
All of that is to keep them mentally focused
Yeah.
for a game like this. Steph needs to be special.
Yes, and like I said, they have to figure out different ways to get him the ball. Look, Eagles secondary is pretty good. They're coming around. You know, they've had some injuries. They've played, I think, 14 different guys in the secondary this year. They have Darius Slay, who's still a very good player, but I don't
says
think he's
hesitantly.
I don't think he's been at the level that he's been in the past. And Bradbury on the other side has not had a good year in the slot. They're missing Avonte Maddox, who is out for the season. Bradley Roby is playing in that spot. So constant change, new safeties. Like, it has been a revolving door for them. I think Stephon Diggs could bounce back big this week.
I think this Eagles secondary can be picked apart by, it's crazy, it's good passing attacks.
Yeah.
And that's going off of, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs have a great passing attack. I don't think that, now I think the Eagles had a good plan against Kansas City and kind of keeping Travis Kelce contained. But look, this was a team that Terry McLaurin had a massive game against them a few weeks ago. CeeDee Lamb went off against them with Dallas. This is a game where Steph needs to, I think he can have a massive game and will.
Yeah, I think he can, and I would say quick decisions, quick passes works. They don't give up a lot of, they've given up some big plays. They don't give a lot deep passes down the field. When I say deep, I'm talking 40-plus yards. But there's a lot in the middle. You'll see that middle of the field is vulnerable.
And it's another guy that we'll get to, but this is also one of those pride games where you got two of the best wide receivers in the game going up head-to-head against one another. I know breaking news, two wide receivers on opposing teams, they don't face off against each other. They still care, and this is one of those pride games and an ego game, I guess I'd say.
All right, so this leads us to Joe Brady. Look, he got off to a good start, especially that second half. I think they sort of eased the transition pretty well in the first half, and then Josh was really good. Brady got them to get the ball out to the right people. He got the big play to Shakir, all those things. But I've said to you, put it on tape. Now everybody sees kind of what the plan is for this week.
Joe Brady provided vibes. But as we've talked about on the podcast, if you haven't already, check those out also on the channel. You can't fire coordinators every single week to bring energy. Joe Brady is that kind of guy right now, but he is going to need to make some more adjustments. What I loved what Joe Brady did, motioned more than any pre-snap motion the Bills did more than any game since 2019. Tons of pre-snap motion, and it was with intent. Brady was one of those guys saying, we don't just want to motion guys for the sake of motioning them. We want to motion with intent so that Josh gets to see what the defense is lined up in. I like that ability. I like him to get under center more, kind of keep this defensive front that is so good, and we will get to in a second, off balance a little bit. Under center, there's more of a threat of run, there's play action, there's all of those things. It's all on Joe Brady's plate, though. He needs to continue to step up. One game's great, Mike, like you said. Now they've seen it, got to adjust.
Yeah, and look, Sean Desai is the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. He has shown no hesitation in changing things up defensively. So what you see in the first quarter, you may see differently. It's a very different way of approaching defense here in Philly than what they've had in the past few years. So Joe Brady's going to have to be ready to adapt. Now, I said the Eagles' back is vulnerable. Linebackers are okay, but that D-line is lethal. And I'm going to highlight Jaylen Carter. He's the kid they picked out of Georgia, some controversy. He was in that traffic accident in Georgia, so some teams passed on him. The Eagles waited, took him at number 10. Most experts thought he was the best player in the draft. At times, he is unblockable.
Not only is he unblockable, but he's reinventing ways defensively. He tried to catch a spike by diving between the center's legs.
He almost got it, too.
But again, physically imposing guy that can just, he is going to be the toughest test that this Bills interior line has faced this year. He caused havoc in Kansas City. He causes havoc most games. Go on X or Twitter and type in his name and then see the comical things that this young man does to grown men. It's insane.
Yeah, he stepped in like an NFL player right away. Daniel Jeremiah was tweeting during the game on Monday, Jaylen Carter gets held on every play. Like, that's their way to stop him. Now, you're talking about him in the interior. On the outside, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, they have those guys. Fletcher Cox, who's been a great player for more than a decade.
Brandon
Graham, who's still making plays for this team. I think you're going to see Nolan Smith. They just keep running D linemen. That is the strength of this Eagles team. You slow them down defensively when you get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. That, to me, is a key for them. Josh has to make the right decision right away.
They also, everybody hang on, they need to run the ball.
Yeah.
And they need to run the ball at these guys. It's almost like you talked about it. You don't block him, you run right at him and make him make a decision.
Yeah, now look, they have been a very good run defense. Kansas City got after him. Pacheco had a really good game against them. The Eagles play a lot of 5 defensive lineman fronts. So they will play with 5 up front as more of their base defense.
Yeah.
That is what they do. That's hard to run against when you can do that. So how do you beat that? Get the ball past that front and get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback. Yeah.
How about a screen for the Bills? They haven't been a very good team at screen passes. This could be a week that you might want to, again, this Bills offensive line is absolutely going to have their hands full. Like I said, you talked about Sweat and Reddick, we talked about Carter, and then we're driving here now, and I just going, oh, there's still Brandon Graham. And you went, yeah, they still have Fletcher Cox. Like, they go deep with this defensive line, and it's the defensive line I think that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane would love to build someday.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're really good on both lines of scrimmage. We didn't even talk about Jason Kelsey and the offensive line, which is one of, if not the best in the league. You know you're going to see the brotherly shove. It is coming. There's no question. Everybody will be complaining about it. There's few things that are going to annoy you. The brotherly shove, and every time they show Nick Sirianni on the sidelines.
He's got a punchable face.
He does. In Philly, they love him. Everywhere else, they don't.
Punchable face.
He's a Western New Yorker. He's from Jamestown.
Punchable face.
Sean McDermott, though, he's not a Philly guy anymore.
Nope.
He said his home is Buffalo, which it should be.
It
That's
is.
where he lives with his
That
family.
his parents live here.
That's right. His parents live here. So he used to coach here when he was with the Eagles with Andy Reid. I mentioned the offense. Yep. A.J. Brown. You know how Steph Diggs did not have a great game in his last game? A.J. Brown did virtually nothing catching the ball. I think he had 1 catch against Kansas City. When that happens with this team, they get him the ball early and often.
Is it fair to call him a diva wide receiver in a good way?
Look, he and Jalen Hurts are best of friends.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to argue on the sidelines.
There was
Breaking
confusion.
news. Yeah, quarterbacks and wide receivers can argue on the sidelines or at least have a discussion. And the world's not. AJ hasn't asked to leave, has he? He hasn't asked to be traded. I mean, I know every time Diggs says a word, everybody thinks he wants to be traded. This happens all the time with them.
Yeah,
He's got a little diva to him.
Yeah, in a good way. There was a miscommunication.
6 straight catches, 6 straight weeks of 125 yards.
Yeah,
or more.
so that's what Mike's getting to. It's bad that he had a bad game last week. In theory, if history repeats itself because of the fact of there also was a miscommunication on an interception against Kansas City. That was kind of what led to him being, again, going to Hurts on the sidelines and having a Stephon Diggs like Cincinnati moment. Like, dude, what are we doing here? But the last time they had that, and AJ said he pretty much said he wanted the ball more. They then fed him the ball for 6 straight games for an NFL record 125
And
straight
look,
yards.
you can throw to him in coverage. You can have good coverage. He'll go up and get it. They have Devontae Smith on the other side, who is an outstanding player. They are missing Dallas Goedert. They are not going to be good at tight end. Calcavecchia, the backup, is out. So they are limited at the tight end position. I think they'll go more 4 wide in this one, which is going to put pressure on a Bills defense that is missing some corners. So we'll see. Good thing it looks like Taron Johnson's going to be ready. That is big for this game. The Bills need him out on the field because obviously he's one of their best players. So.
I actually really like both offenses heading into this game. I'm really kind of shaky on both defenses. For as much as I've talked about this defensive front of the Philadelphia Eagles, I think they can be had in the secondary. Like we said, we saw with Dallas, we saw with Washington. Good passing attacks have affected this Eagles secondary. They're getting better, but I don't think Kansas City is a very good passing attack right now. They may be in January, but right now they're not. So we'll have to wait and see. But again,
it's funny with the Eagles. Their 2 best games defensively were against Mahomes and Tua. But then again, Bills fans know, Tua against a good team. Oh, Dolphins fans are going to comment. They're going to be upset. By the way, I mentioned the things you're not going to like. You're not going to like Brotherly Shove. You're not going to like Nick Sirianni. And you're going to hate the song Fly, Eagles Fly. It's like the Bills playing the shout song.
Okay.
Like any time they score. So they're hoping to hear it a lot. Bills fans are hoping not a lot of Fly, Eagles Fly.
The Bengals song is dumb too.
Yeah, theirs is dumb. I didn't say the Eagles song was dumb. I didn't say shout was dumb. The Bengals song is dumb.
Shout's dumb after a field goal.
Yeah. Don't play it after field goals.
Hot take.
Yes, that's it. All right, we're going to get a cheesesteak.
Yep.
Because we're in Philly. I tried to take him to D'Alessandro's.
Hour
wait for a cheesesteak on a Saturday afternoon. It's really good. You could get one on the way out.
That's what I was thinking.
Absolutely. We're getting one on the way out on Monday. So we'll see how it goes. All right, that's going to do it for us. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you check out everything we have on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. For Dan Fates and Jenna Cottrell, I'm Mike Catalano. We'll see you next time on Buffalo Plus.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.